Tuning out for Revive Radio. Tuning out for Revive Radio.
Yeah, my name is Kenneth Divers. You can call me Ken, by the way. Director of Outreach Services or Programs here at SEPTA, which is actually a new uh, uh, department that was birthed out of this public health crisis that found its way on our system. I've been at SEPTA for about 28 years, believe it or not. I started off as a bus driver. I did that for about 17 years, and I was a transportation manager. I did that for about a little over 9 years.
Wow.
I got promoted to an assistant director of transportation, and then because of the need that we have here with the our homeless population, or what I call, which I'll get into a little later, the vulnerable population or the vulnerable customers, which I'll get into a little later, and reason why we call them that. But I was tasked with this responsibility last March of 2021.
Awesome.
And out of that birth the scope program, which I'll get into a little later.
Awesome. Let me ask you just a question. You being a SEPTA employee, from a bus driver to moving up in the ladder, just simply being employee for SEPTA, how do you like it? Like, how is it being
Oh,
employee?
yeah, well, let me just kind of back into that a little bit. That's a very good question. I view SEPTA as a career, not just as a job. When I heard how much benefits and how much job security that my best friend had at the time, he was a driver, and I said, "Wait, I'm sitting here as a white collar, and he's driving a bus, and he's making almost double as much as I'm making with job security, with pension." It was a no-brainer. So when I came over, it's just been all uphill for me. Well, not up, downhill. That's easy, right? Downhill, uphill. Downhill for me. So downhill meaning that it was easy. Let's put it that way. It was
Yeah.
very enjoyable. So I really, really do love working here. The opportunities that was afforded me, and you can pretty much, when you put enough work and effort in it, you can pretty much make your mark at this company. So it's very enjoyable. I actually enjoy working here and to make a difference.
I had to get the answer, you know what I mean? Because some people, they have different reviews, so we had to hear exactly from your
It's
mouth,
true.
right?
It's true.
So
Yep.
let's get into today's conversation. So my first question I want to ask you is, how is SEPTA getting Philadelphia community involved in handling everyday today issues for everyday riders?
Yeah, well, I can only relate to what I'm doing over this particular program. I don't want to misspeak on other initiatives that SEPTA is doing because I'm not the expert in that. I am
Yeah.
the expert in what I'm dealing with insofar as it relates to our vulnerable population. And just to give you all the audience an understanding of why people always say to me, well, why are you calling them vulnerable? Why don't you call them homeless? Because that's what they are. Well, number one, there are so many people that's in that homeless population who are victims of elder abuse, victims of drug and alcohol addiction. People are victims of housing inequities. People are victim of sexual abuse. Our military vets, our seniors, our children, and a lot of those, believe it or not, are not homeless, but they do fall under the category of what I call the vulnerable population or our vulnerable customers. My job is to make homelessness on SEPTA rare, brief, and non-recurring, while at the same time creating a system that is safe, clean, and reliable to our employees first, and then to our customers. Period. Full stop. End of paragraph.
And I have to ask you, and this is definitely all for the questions that I have listed here, but based on your tagline, I want to ask a question about that. Because most businesses said, the customer is always right, put the customer first. And what you just said is we're putting our employees first. I have to ask
Absolutely.
why. Why are y'all doing the
Absolutely.
reverse right
Great
there?
question. 9/11, if 9/11 has taught us anything, if you recall, what was it? Southwest Airline were the only airline that remained in the black. In other words, remained making money. They were the only airline. All the other ones were in red. They were tanking, and even I believe Walt Disney World, Disney, same thing. And the reason what they did, the CEO at that time realized that the archaic approach to address your customers with the pyramid with the top at the point at the top and everyone else at the bottom. Well, that's shown to be and proven to be ineffective. And what he did was kind of invert that. And so what he realized is say, listen, our employees are our customers also. In fact, they are our number one customers, meaning that if I don't make my employees happy, then they will that unhappiness will translate into our customers. You see? So what I do, what I do, being a man of faith, I have a fourfold philosophy of business. Being a man of faith, I am a Christian, so my number one goal is to serve my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Period. Number two, make your boss represent your company well. Number three, make your boss look good. While number four, tied in a nice red bow, is serving your number one customers, who, in my opinion, are our employees. And the reason why that is because our employees, making them happy, will translate a systemic effect and making our primary employees happy, which are our paying customers, who is very near and dear to my heart, are our customers. Our customers who put that money in that fare box. Our job is to get them to their destination, and their destination just does not start when they get on a SEPTA vehicle. Their destination start when they leave their house to get to their final destination. That's what I'm responsible for. So please don't hear me say that my customers are not important. They are extremely important. But like you for yourself, you are a customer at the company that you work for. You are a customer. And the way that you perform your duties is in direct relation to how your company treat you. You see? And so for me, when I say employee first and then to our customers, I have to ensure that my customers feel safe, clean, and have a reliable system where they can perform to make an environment that is safe, clean, and reliable for our paying customers.
And one thing that you all are doing at SEPTA now, and before, have been allowing people to give feedback, give their reviews, give their testimonies, things of that nature, as well as meetings and public hearings. Do you feel like these are effective? These tactics are effectively working for Philadelphians right now?
Oh, absolutely. I think that they're effective. I think that they're effective. We're still working on the working part, but I do think that they're effective. And the reason why, because number one, it makes us honest.
Okay.
All right. Because I don't want to, and I don't know if you heard me in our last meeting, I would never insult your intelligence or our writers or our employees. I would never insult their intelligence by saying we have the solution. The scope program is the solution, is the panacea. I'm not saying that it is, but what it is a framework where we can build upon and pivot where necessary. And that's the thing, because we do better? Absolutely, we can do better. And how do we do better? By listening to our customers, our internal, our external customers, our government customers, our city council, etc. Listening to them to see, hey, here's our safety plan. Here's what we're doing. Now, what I need you to do is tell me, what didn't I think about and what can I be doing better?
Mm-hmm.
And then, go ahead.
Because last time, what you just said sparked another question. Because last time when we were on the panel, Ross' biggest statement or comment was really because of ride shares was going down. The numbers were going down. And I wanted to ask you, if rideship does not continue to go up or down, what is SEPTA's plan, as far as just their reputation? What is SEPTA's plan?
Well, first of all, ridership is going down, not just relegated to SEPTA. I just came back from Seattle in a conference, and this is all over the United States.
Okay.
And a lot of people don't realize that this is not just a SEPTA thing. The pandemic had opened up a can of worms that we've never experienced before in this century, I'm sure. And so what happens is when you have multiple people working from home, it creates a cavern of openness. And that's going to be filled by someone. So when people come back, we're trying our best. Listen, what I'm doing, when people say, oh, SEPTA's not doing anything, no, let me share with you what we're doing. When you say we're not doing anything, and I don't blame them. I don't blame our customers by saying that because they don't know. It is my responsibility to make them aware of what we're doing and tell them that we need help.
So would you say that SEPTA reputation as far as being safe and reliable, like pre-pandemic, is the same as now? Like, does SEPTA still have the same reputation as being safe and reliable pre-pandemic?
Well, I can't really speak on other people's perceptions. I can only speak on what I see. So I don't, again, I don't want to insult your intelligence by saying that. I can't say that. What I can say from my perspective and from where I am, I can share with you what we are doing. We do see that there is a need. We do see that there are gaps, and we're doing our best to try to fill those gaps, even though, like every other industry, that are suffering from manpower issues. Okay. People say, oh, Ken, why don't you hire more police officers? Well, we've been trying to do that for the last 2 to 3 years. And so what we've done is, you heard me say this before, is that in an effort to do that, to increase police, to increase safety, we increased our salary by 11%. We
Mm,
even brought on 200 additional cleaners.
wow.
We're having job fairs. We want people to come. We need drivers. We need many more drivers than we already have. We need cleaners. We need officers. We need people to come. And SEPTA is not the only industry that's suffering from manpower issues. So of course, if I go to our board and say, hey, listen, I need 500 officers, I'm confident that they'll say, sure. Where are they though?
That's a
You
good question.
know?
That's a
Yeah,
good question. And Ken, I want to kind of move on because we got a little bit of time left.
sure.
So my last question about our conversation last week. Last week we also mentioned a little bit of a wish list, and my part of the wish list that I asked for was just more storage and bike racks and bike safety for people who really commute and use transportation as far as public. So when it comes down to just SEPTA's
Yeah.
increase of storage and maybe bike
Mhm,
racks just
mhm.
on the platforms as well as
Yeah.
inside the carts. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we are addressing that. There was a survey that was just sent out to all of the employees to address that very issue with bikes and storage. Now, again, I'm going to have to pivot that back to our government affairs department. They can probably answer that better than I can. I'm not an expert in that. I'm over in another department, so I can't really give you all the nuts and bolts. But I can say that that's very near and dear to our our CEO's heart, Leslie Richards. And we also, all of us, I actually did the survey myself. Would like to see more. I actually did that. I believe it was last week. So that is something that we are addressing.
Okay, awesome. I appreciate your transparency for that one too. But let's definitely dive into the SCOPE program. What is SCOPE and what is it all about? I know it's a new initiative that just rolled out April 2021. So it's brand new, but how can people learn more about it? Because not a lot of people know about it.
Right. The SCOPE program is an acronym which stands for safety, cleaning, ownership, partnership, and engagement. And for more information, you can go to our website, SEPTA's website at septa.org, and you can click on, you'll see a SCOPE banner there. You can click on it and it will actually lead you directly to our safety plan, and it will give you more information on the scope. But just as a high level overview, we realized very earlier on that last year that we had to do something that was very dynamic because we have this public health crisis on our hands. It's not a SEPTA health crisis. It's a public health crisis. And a part of doing that is I had to think outside of the box. Matter of fact, get rid of the box. See, that's the problem. The box is the problem. Get rid of the box. Had to think outside, had to think and say, okay, what ways that we can do that other companies are not doing? What am I going to do? So what we did, my team and I, we developed this scope program because we're dealing with not only the vulnerable population, but the systemic effect from that population. How does it affect safety? How does it affect cleaning? How does it affect infrastructure, better lighting? How does it affect our ridership? So the scope program deals with all of that. And that was birthed out of a need. It was birthed out of a need. It never existed before. We developed that, and the inauguration with that was and like you said, April 1st of 2021, when we reopened the Somerset station. We actually had to close down the Somerset station on the Market Frankfurt line for about, I think the initial closure was supposed to be a little bit over a month, but our teams worked around the clock. We were able to open that up in about, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks. I think it was 3 weeks. We were able to open that back up again. And that's when I and Mark Squilla, our councilman, asked, what is SEPTA prepared to do to ensure that once the station is reopened, it will not happen again? And
Mhm.
so I developed this adopt a station program where we went out and hired social workers. So let me say this, we cannot really call them social workers because they're not credentialed. They're certified peer specialists,
Okay.
CPS certified. And those certified peer specialists are people who have lived experience. They were addicted. They were homeless. They were disenfranchised. And now they're certified peer specialists working with an outreach firm such as Marikey, Parkside Recovery, ODAT, which is one day at a time, and Eagle Staffing. They come on and they engage our most vulnerable customers to lead them to places of respite. And also, we also develop relationships with local universities such as Drexel. 13 of their first year medical students work on our system to perform outreach to our vulnerable customers to lead them off the system and into places where they can get help.
Mhm.
Additionally, Cabrini University with their health and
So just
exercise
as
science students, which they're actually in Montgomery County. at the Norristown Transportation Center to do just that. And as a result of that, we had two other universities, which I cannot mention right now because it hasn't been solidified, but two other universities in Philadelphia reached out so that they can have their nursing students join us in this fray. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. I could talk to you about the Northeast Treatment Center. I can talk to you about WAR, what is it, usually known as Women Organized Against Rape, which is now the Philadelphia Center for Sexual Violence. And then we also have the Victim Services Center of Montgomery County and Delaware County, Bucks and Chester to bring on board to help us in this endeavor because SEPTA cannot do it alone. So that was basically the high level overview of what scope is. I know I talked about the cleaning, we developed the safety. We actually even brought on security guards. And let me just be very transparent with the security. Well, we cannot call them security guards. We call them SEPTA Outreach Services, SOS. We can't call them security guards only because they do not have an enforcement role.
Okay.
And the reason why, because of our contractual agreement with our FOTP, Fraternal Order of Transit Police, because of the contract that we have with them, these other entities that come in cannot do enforcement. However, what they can do is act as force multipliers. So you may get on the train and see one of our SOS workers just standing there, and on their phones. But what you don't see is that while they're on their phones, they're actually texting our SEPTA police and say, hey, listen, we have individuals that are smoking here. I may have engaged them. So you may get on the train at Somerset and you see someone smoking. You see an SOS there not doing anything. What you didn't see is the station before that they did actually engage and tell them to stop smoking. And because they're not in enforcement, the person don't have to listen to them.
Are they in plain clothes or are they?
No, they're in yellow vests. They have different uniforms on, and we're working on getting something, a vest that's more prominent, demonstrable. You see what I'm saying?
Even the outreach advocates, the one that you call them care. What did you call them again?
Certified peer specialists
peer specialists. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Would they be in plain uniform or would they be in plain clothes or?
They have vests. They have vests.
So everyone can be identified.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't care if I saturate SEPTA system with vests. Someone said, I see vests all over the place. Well, that's good. Yes. I want you to see more. But here's the thing, and I hear my customers. I do hear them because it's frustrating. You get on the train, you see someone smoking, you see one of the SOS members sitting there not doing anything. That's frustrating. Like, why SEPTA paying, wasting all this money? Well, because in the meantime, while we're trying to fill that gap of the police officers, I need to do something. You don't want to hear that, oh, sorry, I can't hire officers. You don't want to hear that. You want to say, well, while you're in the process of trying to hire more officers, what do you intend to do in the meantime? Well, guess what? This is what I intend to do. We don't know if it's going to work, but I'm going to try it anyway, because guess what? You're worth it.
One who's working on this program scope, do you feel like the city is doing enough to help with this public health crisis, or is it leaning on its other private sectors to do the work?
I think the city is doing what they can. I think everyone is doing what they can and what they think is best. Can the city do more? Yes. Can SEPTA do more? Yes. Mm-hmm. Can our private partners do more? Yes. Everyone can do more. The question is, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that develops the O in scope, the O, which is ownership. Many believe that SEPTA should own this crisis and employ and deploy increased levels of enforcement. Well, guess what? We've done that, and we're going to continue to do that. However, we cannot do it alone, hence the P in for scope with partnership. We develop these partnerships because there is no such thing as the panacea or the magic pill that's going to solve it. There is no such thing. So I believe that the city is doing its best. I believe, and can they do better? Yes, just like we can do better. Just like I can do better. So that's why the scope program is there for all to see, because I want you to look at it and I want you to say, hey, listen, this is what SEPTA is doing, and what didn't I think about? What can I be doing better? I do acknowledge some of the areas as far as communication, because this scope program been around for 18 months, but I could have done better by communicating that to our customers. I could have done better.
I appreciate your honesty for that, definitely. And I want to move on. When it comes down to just your position, what is your current intentions? Like, what is your current intentions with your position right now?
Oh, it's to increase our partnerships, to increase bringing people on our system, to guide our most vulnerable customers off the system into the places of respite. And guess what? I do not care if we're going to saturate our system with presence, 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 because our customers need to feel safe. And just to give you a little anecdote in our few minutes left, one of our cashiers said that she don't understand why we're hiring guards when they can't do anything. And I told her, I said, what time do you come to work in the morning? She said 4:30 a.m. I said, when you come to work, how do you feel? Oh, I feel unsafe. I'm not comfortable. I said, but now we have the guards there. How do you feel? Well, you know what? You're right. I do feel a little better that they're there. Bingo. That's worth it.
I appreciate that. And what about you? Do you feel safe riding SEPTA
I
personally?
do. Yeah, someone asked me that the other day. Do I feel safe? And I have to say, oh, of course, Ken going to say that he works for this company, and I know everyone's listening to it. But no, I do. And as a bench, you got to remember though, when you ask me, do I feel safe as a 6'4", 210-pound man? Well, I'm going to say yes. But again, what about those customers who are not 6'4", 210? What about our those more tender age customers, or in their body? That was a question for them, and my job is to ensure and make sure that they feel safe. And I'm going to throw everything in the kitchen sink at it to ensure that that happens. Can I do better? Absolutely. But I assure you, I trust me that I'm going to continue in this effort to tackle this public health crisis that found its way on our system. I cannot say that that's not our problem. It is our problem, and
Mm-hmm.
we're going to. But it's not our problem alone.
Mm-hmm. And I will beat myself up if I don't ask you this question, especially about the vulnerable customers. Because last time when we spoke on the panel, I kind of mentioned a little bit about our youth, right? And I feel like our youth really falls under that category of vulnerable customers, especially
Yeah.
because they utilize public transportation throughout the school year, morning and
Mm-hmm.
afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they are the reason of the disturbance and of the frustration of people who are using it, commuting, going home or to and from work. So when it comes down to our youth, how is SEPTA planning on not necessarily increasing, arrest when it comes to our youth, but also helping them to de-escalate situations that may be going on while riding public transportation? Because
I
we
love
don't want
that.
to increase, arrest with our youth.
I like that question. I love the way you pivoted from arrest to mitigating, and I like that. And what we're doing, and our chief of police can speak more on that issue because his team has taken the lead in that with those students. And prior to my position here, I mentioned to you that I was a transportation manager. I was the liaison, one of the liaisons between SEPTA and the school district to deal with our youth and how they educate them how to ride SEPTA, what to do, any issues related from those. What do we do? And I've done that for quite some time while I was at SEPTA, while I was a transportation manager in my other role. But here, our SEPTA police has really taken on that initiative. So I'm going to actually leave that for them to answer. But for me personally, you're right. And you heard me say this before, there are among our vulnerable customers. But what I have to do in the meantime is kind of spread the responsibility internally. And so that's what I have to do. I'm just being transparent. I wish I was Superman. I'm not. I assure you I'm not. But I have to, and that's why I'm very proud of our internal working group that consists of no less than 38 senior managers that we meet bi-monthly, that I lead, that vulnerable population task force or working group. We meet every other week, and we discuss these various issues, and also not only discuss, but also put in place certain plans. Where's the gap? Where are the most complaints are coming from? Let's pivot these resources. And that's why I'm so happy to hear, I'm so happy that we were able to garner a robust network of partners to help SEPTA offset some of those financial and human barriers related to this population.
Thank you. And I definitely want to get this question in off of Twitter. And it was a simple question, but a lot of people want to know the answer to it. Will SEPTA ever be free? Will SEPTA ever be free?
I'm not qualified to answer that question. Is that a good
Good
one?
answer.
Is that a
That was a
good one?
great answer. That was actually a great answer. And this was a question too that I really wanted to know personally. And you probably are not able to answer this question either. And it's really about inflation, right? So right
Yeah.
now, with the inflation going on in America, do you foresee SEPTA being affected, especially without public transit? Do you see it being affected in any type of way?
Oh, sure. I mean, every time we have an inflation, every time we have a crisis, we're all affected. I mean, people can't go to work; they're not working. They get laid off. Well, people are getting not working, getting laid off. Well, that's one less customer on our system. So, of course, it's going to. The question is, how big is that systemic effect? How big is that effect? And that's something, I can't answer. But yes, I do believe that we are affected, and we have to pivot where necessary to help those customers get on those systems. And that's why I can't. SEPTA was able to offer discounts to certain companies. But again, I'm not the expert on that. I do know that we're trying our best to try to bring these people back to work on our system and trying to do that in a way where it could be affordable.
We appreciate you for sure, Ken. Thank you for coming through today on this Friday.
Tune in now to Revive Radio. Tune in now to Revive Radio.